How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Bolts Breakdown. That's Brian Burns, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com. Jay Recher here with you, 95.3 WDAE. And yes, I got a fresh cut. This is the last cut that Are you going to get a haircut before the playoffs?
Yeah, I'll get a haircut.
You can
get a haircut during the playoffs.
You can get a haircut, all right. So I'm going to get a haircut again.
I hope I can get a haircut. I need haircuts.
So yeah,
after about a month, this starts looking like a trapezoid on top of my head.
My last beard trim, I guess, for hopefully a long time. I was telling my barber, Roland, who's not the biggest hockey fan, and he's like, so I'll see you in a couple weeks. I'm like, yeah, but you're not touching the beard. And I was trying to explain to him about the playoff beard and everything, and he goes, well, I hope you look like Duck Dynasty over here the next couple weeks. So that is the goal. We're hopefully going to be rocking some long playoff beards over the next couple months. It's weird because it's April 2nd now, and we're hoping to be talking about hockey well into the month of June. That would be pretty awesome for Bryan and I. So, as always, we want to hear from you on Bolts Breakdown. Put it there at the bottom of the screen. What do you guys, where you're watching from? Also, any questions or concerns or comments? Our good buddy Fabio from overseas. What's up, brother? And we'll just get right off the bat. And I wanted to talk to Bryan about this. And Ernest, you bring up a good point about Hedman. Just listen to what John Cooper had to say. Are you worried at all that Victor Hedman will not be ready for Game 1 of the playoffs?
Yeah, I think there's some concern. If it sounds like he's not going to play the rest of the regular season, and the expectation is that he'll be back for the first game of the playoffs. But I mean, you never know until it happens. So yeah, I think there's got to be some level of concern there that he might potentially not be available. You hope, fingers crossed, everything goes well. It seems like just from hearing what John Cooper's been saying and watching the guys during practices and whatnot, it seems like they're going to have their full complement of defensemen ready to go once the playoffs starts. Anton Strawman should be back here, maybe even as soon as tonight. Cooper talked about Dan Girardi maybe getting back. I don't think he meant playing on the end of this road trip, but maybe just skating, practicing with the guys. That's a good sign for him. And then hopefully, again, Hedman's back before the first game. So fingers crossed everybody's back and the Lightning will have their full complement of defensemen once those playoffs do start. But they've had some guys fill in their place and have done well. So if they are out, you hope that at least in the first round, this team can't miss a beat. You figure, if there is a round where these guys are going to be out, the first round is, the one that helps the Lightning out the most. You get into the second round, you're probably going to be playing Boston or Toronto. You're going to want to have everybody back because you're going to need everybody to get through either one of those teams.
We want to hear from you guys here on Bolts Breakdown. Who do you think the Lightning are going to play in the first round of the playoffs? And actually, who do you think would be the toughest challenge? I think that's probably the better question, and Burnsy and I will give you our thoughts here in a minute. So who do you think would be the Lightning's toughest matchup in the opening stanza in the playoffs, the opening round? And it's interesting, just listening to Dave Andrechuk, he was on with Pat and Aaron on 95.3 WDAE, and a lot of people think Columbus because of, I guess, there's a lot of talent on that team. I think probably more talent up and down the lineup, not just up front with some of the guys that they have. You go out and you make a trade for Matt Duchene and Ryan Dzingel to add to guys like Cam Atkinson and Panarin and Pierre-Luc Dubois, the most French name ever. And also on the blue line, you have Zach Werenski and Seth Jones and those guys, and Sergei Bobrovsky, who we've known, he's had his playoff struggles, but if they put everything together, it's they're a tough out, and everybody forgets that they were up on Washington in that series last year. People forget that really quickly. You have Carolina, who's got that special juju going on this year with the things that they do after celebrating a win, and they just I think Rod Brendamore's done a great job. They have a great mix of veterans and rookies. You have a guy like Justin Williams on one side, and then you have like Svechnikov, one of the young stars in the league, and then last but certainly not least, the team that the Lightning played tonight, the Montreal Canadiens, where what you have as far as guys like Shea Weber, and up front you have Domi and Drouin and Gallagher and guys like that. But the big kind of the thing that Dave Andrechuk was saying, that people say, all right, the Canadiens would probably be the easiest matchup, but he doesn't believe that, because if there's one position that can get hot, that's a goaltender, and a guy that can steal a series and a guy can take his team as deep into the playoff is a guy like Carey Price. So I ask you, Brian Burns, what team do you think would give the biggest challenge to the Lightning if they face them in the first round?
Yeah, of those three, I mean, I think the Lightning roll over any one of those three opponents. I think they finish them off in 5 games, maybe 6, but I guess Columbus, I would have to go with Columbus. And you look at the results the Lightning have had against Columbus this season, they've actually absolutely dominated them in the 3-game regular season series. But that Columbus team that we've seen 3 times previously is not the same Columbus
it's
team that's on the ice right now.
5-game winning streak,
since the trade deadline, they're playing with confidence. Obviously, Bobrovsky, one of the best goalies in the NHL. Playoff struggles well documented, but you wonder at some point he's going to get over that, and he's going to the guys in front of him are going to help him out a little bit more, and things are going to come together there. Not really sure what John Tortorella, what that whole storyline does for that. I mean, exactly. It certainly makes it a little bit more interesting. Not really sure if having him behind the bench is an advantage for Columbus or not, but I would say, in order, I would go Columbus would probably be the team that would concern me the most, Montreal second, Carolina third. And Carolina third just because they just never really sold on the goaltending with them. And like you said, Carey Price is a world-class goalie who, has been known to get super hot at times and carry his team. So you don't want that to happen in a first-round series against the Lightning. I think the Lightning will do well against any one of those 3 opponents. None of them, scare me that much. Like if a Pittsburgh were to drop down and the Lightning were to play them somehow in the first round, that would be a little bit more of a dicey situation for me. But yeah, I think Columbus right now, just the way they're playing, it's a different team, from the trade deadline, different team that the Lightning have seen, even though they've dominated them in the regular season series.
Without a doubt. Let's get to some of the things that you guys have been talking about here. John Zaleski, always tuning in from Olean, New York. Let us know where you're watching from as well. And also share this on your Facebook. Put shared right there and let us know so we can shout you out. We always want to spread the word so everybody out there can be the Thunder. Fabio prefers the Habs or the Canes in the first round. Supion from Seminole, Florida. Let's see what else. Ken McNally wants to know anything about Cal Foote. Still way too early about that, buddy. There was people that wanted Cal Foote to be the guy called up, but let's go into last night. I think Cam Gaunt asserted himself pretty well. I mean, you look at him and Jan Rutta last night. I thought they looked really comfortable. And one thing I noticed when we were at the Brandon Ice Sports Forum last week, I think it was, with Cameron Gaunt, doesn't have a big shot, but he's a guy that is not afraid to jump into the play. And you saw that last night. There was times where he took the puck and rushed it up ice and looked very comfortable. Even some plays where, he just rushed the puck a little bit, got over the red line, dumped it in, and was able to get the line a line change. I think those little things like there you kind of take for granted, but that's not easy to do. And he did that, and he just came right in. And I thought he did pretty well last night in his first game as a Bolt.
Yeah, I thought so too. There was a play where he had the puck at the right point, and he made a move like similar to Mikhail Sergachev, had that little Sergey shake to get around the guy in front of him and dumped it in. Unfortunately, his pass wasn't quite where it needed to be, and it got turned over. But yeah, I'm with you. I thought he was very solid. I thought him and Jan Rutta, was a little worried about that combination going into the game. Just not a lot of the. Maybe I don't know if they've been playing together in Syracuse, so maybe they do have some experience, down at the AHL level, but not much experience playing together at the NHL level. But yeah, I thought they acquitted themselves quite well. I thought the top 2 pairs for the Lightning were really good again. I really liked what Mikhail Sergachev has been able to do here of late. But that third pairing, it was not a glaring weakness for the Lightning by any means. I know it was Ottawa, and it wasn't the toughest opponent that the Lightning are going to see. It's going to ramp up here a little bit more with Montreal, kind of like a natural progression.
Yeah, exactly.
Ottawa down here, the Montreal, to Toronto, and then you got Boston up here to finish off the season. But it'll be a good way for him to get his feet wet. Sure. You start off with the weakest team, and then you get progressively tougher.
It's not always like that.
I know, you get progressively tougher as the games go along, and hopefully he's not needed too much longer here. Hopefully we can get a couple guys back healthy, and his services will no longer be needed. But I thought he played pretty well. And even Yanni Gord after the game was like, when he saw that one move, he's like, those guys made a couple moves where even on the bench, you're like, ooh,
okay,
that was nice.
I like that one.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
when you can impress the guys on the Lightning, a 60-win Lightning team with guys setting records all over the place, then you're doing something pretty good there.
Without a doubt. And I thought Yanni Gord had a heck of a game last night for sure.
How much does he does he put a little money in John Cooper's pocket to say, hey, keep me on that second line there?
That'd be nice.
Piling up the points with regularity, playing with Braden Point and Nikita
Kucherov. He loves that, I'm sure. He's so flexible. He can really play on any line. We've seen him earlier on this year where he's played on the top line with Steven Stamkos. At times we've seen him jumped all the way down to the fourth line as well. So he's been such a versatile member of this team. And you mentioned Mikhail Sergachev. I tell you what, I thought we saw a little bit of a glimpse into the future last night where Mikhail Sergachev he took ownership a little bit last night, and he was playing on that first power play unit. And I saw kind of what like 7 or 8 years can be from now, when maybe Victor Hedman is, you know what I mean, is gone, and Mikhail Sergachev might still be here, and he was like the main guy. And I just saw him kind of rise to the occasion last night. And I think at too many times it's like, all right, he kind of takes his own progression, and he doesn't have to play big time minutes on the PK or the power play because of Hedman and McDonough and guys like that. But I was just really impressed with Mikhail Sergachev last night, and I really think that he could be poised for a big playoff.
Yeah, I mean, look, multiple points in 3 straight games now.
Big.
Had a goal and an assist. He's getting hot at the right time, and like you said, I think the last 7 or 8 games he's averaged over 20 minutes a game. So he's getting that ice time now. The confidence is coming for him. It's really good to see him take off, and I think a little bit of it, he's kind of been stuck in a third pairing role. I think he'd probably want to be in that top 4, maybe at this point in his development. He feels like he should maybe be up there. Obviously, Eric Chernak coming in and playing the way that he has, and the combination that he has with Ryan McDonough has kind of maybe stunted Sergachev's growth a little bit. But I think you see, he rises into a top 4 role, gets a little bit more responsibility on the power play, gets a little bit more responsibility overall to take some of those minutes that Victor Hedman, munches routinely. And he's taken ownership of it, and his game has elevated as a result, and that's only a positive sign going into the playoffs. And now you have an engaged and very confident Mikhail Sergachev on that blue line.
For those wondering, injury updates, like our good buddy Marcus Persson, the Hedman lower body injury, so we're hoping that he's going to be ready. Upper body injury for him. Hopefully he'll be back for the first game of the playoffs. We'll know more as the week goes on. Louis Dominguez still out with the lower body injury. It looks like Eddie Pasquale will get his second start in a Lightning uniform tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. Lower body injuries also for Girardi and Strawman. So we'll see. We'll see.
Strawman, I think they said
tonight?
Maybe targeting tonight. We'll see.
That would be great.
So, I think if not tonight, definitely Thursday for Strawman. But it looks like sooner rather than later.
I like that a lot. We don't know anything yet about any of the scratches. Yanni on the second line full time. Michael Walker, I wouldn't say full time because you know how John Cooper does. He changes those lines with regularity. So at times you'll see Point, Stamkos, and Kucherov together at times. So it's such a flexible thing. So we really don't know. Tim McCardle, thank you so much always for the kind words. Jorge Matos, Victor Maldonado, buddies of mine, thank you very much for watching. I want to see a Drouin Palat fight, Jim Markham says. We'll see. I don't think Drouin has the stones for that. Lots of talent to be brought up. 61st win. They can get 61 wins tonight. Think about how crazy that is. Let's see what else. Shared on Thunder Pot Pie, Stephanie says, love your analysis. Look forward to it every game day. We love our friends over at Thunder Pot Pie, and we appreciate everybody. And I wanted to get to this one real quick. Andrew Tracy, watching from Royal Caribbean's Allure of the Seas cruise ship. That's pretty awesome, man. We love that, Andrew. So thank you so much for tuning in. That is really, really good stuff. So let us know. Give us a shout. Who do you think is going to score the first goal tonight against the Montreal Canadiens? And Bernsey will get to you, man. Lightning Canadiens, one of their rivals, of course, but a little different than years past because I think going into this kind of the rotation or this team right now, the Lightning to me are head and shoulders above this team. But just a couple of years ago, it was a very close nip and tuck battle when you had the PK Subbans and the Paciorettys. But this is a little bit of a different team now. What are your 3 keys to victory for the Bolts tonight?
A little bit of an overachieving Montreal team.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody really expected them to be in the playoff hunt this year. For me, number one, continue focused on the defense. I thought we saw a really good defensive effort from the Lightning in the Ottawa game. Just really sound, smart how they played in their own end. No glaring turnovers. Nothing where they were trying to, maybe be a bit too heroic with their passes. I thought we saw a little bit of that in the Washington game where they were always looking for that long stretch pass or that pass that had a very low percentage chance of being completed. And they didn't do any of that in the Ottawa game. They were high percentage passes, smart sound in their own end. And it led to a really good defensive effort, even with the patchwork blue line that the Lightning have been working with in that game. So I just want to see them continue to build on that, continue with that solid defensive effort. I don't care if the team loses 1-0 tonight. If you're only giving up 1 goal, if you're limiting those chances against, I think that's almost a win for the Lightning right now because they really need to limit the goals against. They really need to limit the chances against. They need to stay out of the penalty box. So another focused defensive effort, I think, is imperative for the Lightning tonight against Montreal. Number 2 for me is they need to reestablish the power play a little bit. I feel like this power play has gotten a little stale. Last night I thought they had some pretty good opportunities. There was the second power play especially, they were really working the puck around, and Braden Point hit the post on a shot He usually scores on it. He had time and space, and he was right in the slot.
He had
and
so much time with that shot.
Probably had a little bit too much time because he had a little too much time to think about it and pick his corner. But yeah, just the power play, just in general, over the last 4 or 5 games, they only have 1 goal in the last 4 games on the power play, and that's not that bad, all things considered. But when you look at this team was scoring at like a 29% rate for most of the season, now it's dipped down to about 28.2%. You just want to see them get reestablished on that power play, get a little bit of more confidence going into the postseason. And then number 3 for me, just withstand Montreal's desperation. You're going to see a very desperate Montreal team tonight. They need every win and point that they can get to try to make it into the playoffs. Right now, they're the first team out, looking up at the second wild card spot. So they need this win tonight, basically, to make the playoffs. And they're going to be desperate. They're going to be focused. It's going to be hard for the Lightning to match that desperation, obviously. They don't have anything left to play for. Really, the only thing left is the 62-win regular season record for the Detroit Red Wings in 95-96. But, they've said all along they really don't look at those records. They don't think about them. I tend to believe them. I think they really just go out and just want to win every game. And then when you get to the end of the season, you say, wow, you put up 62, 63 wins. That's the most ever in the NHL. Then they can, pat themselves on the back a little bit. But I really don't think they're saying, hey, guys, we got to win tonight so we can go get that record.
I'm with you, and I don't think it's the most important thing, because when you think about it, if they win 60 games, let's say they lose the next 3 and win the Stanley Cup, that's all anybody's going to care about.
Exactly.
If they win 63 games and they don't win the Stanley Cup, that's all everybody's going to be talking about. So it's all about...
That Detroit team didn't win the Stanley Cup, the 95-96 team that holds the record. So
think about that. It's pretty crazy. That was one of the better teams of all time. So I'm with you, man, and it's kind of funny to think that somebody put it out last night. I think it might have been you with the 60 points, 60 wins. There's only 2 coaches all time.
Oh, that's Corey Long. I retweeted him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Corey Long.
That was a great stat.
Scotty Bowman did it with the Canadiens.
John Cooper, only the second. That's amazing. Only the second head coach. There's only been 3 teams in NHL that have won 60 games. Scotty Bowman coached 2 of them, the Montreal Canadiens.
And they were, 18 years apart, I think it was.
Yeah, 76, 77 Canadiens, and then the 95, 96 Detroit Red Wings. Scotty Bowman behind the bench, and Scotty Bowman a regular at the
he's always there.
Lightning games. He's always.
He's pretty much at every game.
Yeah, he lives down in Sarasota. I get an email from him every day on game day, like, hey, Bryan, I'll be coming alone tonight's game, or hey, Bryan, I'll be here with Dan Belisle or Jim Devellano or someone from one of his buddies that comes in with him.
I'll be here talking to Mark Dittler during media dining. That's what they do. Mark Dittler, a great writer for the AP, and Scotty Bowman, man, he is a trip. He'll ask me about the Islanders because for some reason I met him one time and told him I was from Long Island, and my dad's an Islander fan. Now every time I see him, he goes, how's your dad's Islanders doing? Like, that's the craziest.
Isn't that crazy?
That is
like,
the nuttiest thing.
The best
like,
coach in the NHL history is asking you for advice. Like, I get a trip every time, like, Espo comes up to me and asks me something. I'm like, you're a Hall of Famer, dude. Like, what are you asking me for? Like, Anderchuk will ask me something. Yeah. And always, I get a kick
awesome.
out of it, yeah.
Phil Esposito always in the press box. It's so funny because Phil is just like the same. He's the same dude, and he'll be talking. Like, he always holds court in the press box with big-time players, guys with multiple rings, multiple cups, Hall of Famers, and he'll stop and he'll just check me and he'll go, yeah, you're from New York, you can take it. And I'm like, this is Phil Esposito stopping his conversation with like Scotty Bowman and all these other guys just so he can lay some elbows on me. So we love you, Phil, of course, but it's just so crazy and just another layer of why being around this team is so awesome, because you just never know who you're going to see in the press box. So my one guy to watch tonight, Max Domi. I think 75 points this year for Max Domi. A big trade in the offseason. Alex Galchenyuk going from Montreal to Arizona, and Domi going back the other way. 2 young kids.
Trade worked out pretty well for both teams.
I think Galchenyuk's played really well. Arizona, I tell you what, man, Arizona has done such a good job this year. And there's another team, probably the 2 most overachieving teams possibly in the league.
Maybe the Islanders.
Yeah, Islanders.
Carolina
right.
could throw in that mix too.
Yeah,
but they've always been on the cusp, and you always feel like this could be the year they make the playoffs.
And you knew that they had, when you get Dougie Hamilton in the offseason, you re-sign Justin Williams, and, I'm with you. But those 4 or 5 teams right there, I think, are, the overachievers. But Max Domi, you got to keep an eye on him tonight. And we'll see with Jonathan Drouin if he tries to put his imprint on the game tonight. But they're going to be desperate. It's going to be a playoff-like atmosphere. I don't want to say worried about tonight's game, but I think last night, because you wanted to kind of show that the Washington game, you wanted to kind of flush that and just kind of have a good vibe. It's going to be tough for the Lightning to have that same level of intensity and desperation. It's tough to manufacture that when you really, like we said yesterday, these games are for lack of a better term, a meaningless game in the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of you don't want to get hurt and you don't want to play the wrong way and develop a bad style. But the big thing tonight is if you can get some of those guys back in the lineup, you get Anton Strawman back. Maybe the thing is, hey, let's get Eddie Pasquale a win. You got to find these little things to motivate you. So hopefully that'll be tonight. We'll take one or two more questions. Feel free to put them there at the bottom of the screen. Also share this on your Facebook. We saw people sharing it with Thunder Pop Pie and also telling us who you think is going to score tonight. Some good stuff there. So I'm excited for the game tonight. I know there's only a couple games left. It'd be nice to see him get the record, though. I know it's not the most important thing, but it'd be nice to see them kind of just run the whole gamut and just go almost. And I know they weren't in first place a little while. I guess it was in October, November with Buffalo when they went on that 10-game big streak.
I think they took over when they beat Buffalo. That was remember like that was
1 day.
People
right?
thought that was like a playoff type atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a playoff type atmosphere. People thought that could be like
physical that night. If you remember, it was a physical game.
Preview, and Buffalo was rolling. I think they had a 10-game win streak going at the time, and the Lightning won that game and overtook Buffalo. I want to say it was like November 27th, or 29th, and then since that game. The Lightning have been in first place ever since.
So close to
I think they're only one of 3 teams that have, like, whatever game that was, it was like game 26 of the regular season. I think there's only been 3 teams in NHL that have owned first place from, like, game 26 through the end of the regular season.
It's incredible, man. All right, that's Bryan. Oh, Neil Clitheroe's watching from overseas. Neil, you and Scott are good buddies, our big Tampa fans from overseas. Happy birthday to you guys, man. Even though you're stinking other fans, I think you're Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, something like that. But it was your birthday yesterday. We know how much you love Tampa Bay sports, and we appreciate you. And that's Monica Richards. That is my lovely grandmother, and she is the best, our number one fan. So Grandma, I love you, and I am in town Thursday night, so Friday I will definitely be at your house, and we'll definitely talk some Mets baseball. She's a big Mets fan. So
awesome.
Jesper Hermanson, who'll be in goal tonight. It looks like Eddie Pasquale. We don't know for sure, but
I don't see any reason why they would start Vazzy back to back. And the reason they bring Pasquale up is because Domingue has a lower body injury. So this is tailor made for Pasquale to get the start here.
Bolton, Liverpool. Come on, man. Bolton, Man U all the way. All right, Bryan Burns right here, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at BBurnsNHL. You can follow the team at TB Lightning. Go to TampaBayLightning.com for all the best news and notes. You can follow me on Twitter at JRecher. Follow the station at 95.3 WDAE. Go to 95.3 WDAE.com for the best Bolts coverage. The game will be live up the dial on our sister station, News Radio WFLA, and I believe on Fox Sports Sun. I don't think it's NBC Sports.
Yeah.
I think it's on Fox Sports Sun. All right, so make sure you follow us. There's probably going to be some news, just like yesterday, with some news right as soon as Bolts breakdown is over. So make sure you share this, and this will be our last one, Thursday, right?
Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday is our last Bolts breakdown of the regular season, and then the following one will be next Wednesday, the playoff opener. How great will that be?
Looking forward to it. I know we've been looking forward to the playoffs for quite a while now. Like once the Lightning punched their ticket, it was almost like, can we just hit fast forward so we can get? But it's been fun too to watch all these records just kind of go by the wayside. Like with each game, it's just like another record or two that the Lightning have been able to set. So it's been a really interesting, fun ride, and just looking forward to having it continue in the playoffs.
That's right, man. We appreciate everybody out there for being the Thunder. We really enjoyed doing this. So as always, we couldn't do this without you. So that's Bryan. I'm Jay. We'll see you Thursday right here on Bolts Breakdown.